All right. Welcome. Welcome to the next live, March 2nd. Let me share this newly live stream with the group. So give me just a moment. Need to do that. Hope everybody's doing okay at the start of March. Already 1/6 of the way through 2022. Honestly, time just speeds up. We only have a certain amount of it. Okay, just a moment here. Starting my live call. Second now. Join here. Okay. Get that posted up. So, hope to see you guys in here. Let's see. I have to sneeze. Excuse me. Got my big thing of water. I was actually out of town in between last week and this week. That's sort of crazy. From Wednesday to Wednesday, and the whole trip happened. The interesting thing about this trip, I went to Miami. The interesting thing with that, why did you say chat is disconnected? I'm really sick and tired of YouTube Studio sometimes. But I don't know what's gonna happen if I can get on this on my phone and probably see the chat. Okay, so the interesting thing about this trip was that it was my dog Lucky's first flight and trip, so that was cool. Let me see if I can catch myself on here so I can see. Excuse me, some of these chat that might be coming in, and I apologize for this issue.
For this issue.
Oh, Darren can see me.
Darren can see me.
Okay. All right. So, yeah. So I know that you guys can hear me. I know that fine. It's just that I can't see any chat. So I can see the chats on my phone now. So that's how we're gonna do it. With that said, I've got a few. Wait, let me change the top chat to everything. Okay, cool. I've got a few questions that I intend on answering. Let me get this set up. Okay. A few questions I intend on answering. Let's see. The first is, I'm just gonna sort of type this up. Sorry, there's a lot going on. Hey, Patrick. Good to see you on here, man. Good to see you on here. And yeah, whoever's here, feel free to say hi. I know my YouTube on my end being weird, but on my end, I can only see one person. On your end, I can see four on my phone. So, oh, now 6 people. Fantastic. Okay, so what the 3 questions I intend on answering are: what are the main qualities you look for in a receptionist? That's one. Another one is, I'm just gonna keep doing this until it's done. What are the main qualities you look for in a receptionist? Okay. Another thing is, did I have a bunch of international clients, and what was it like serving them? Clients, and what was it like serving them? And then the third question was, how did you pick your phone system? So again, for any of you guys that have questions, feel free to chat it. I'll be able to see it on my phone, which is only a few seconds behind, and then of course I'll answer it on here. So that's how we're gonna get it done. Whenever this happens, we'll get it done this way. So again, I appreciate you guys being on here. So right now, I don't see any questions from you guys. So I'm just going to start off by answering this first question here, which is what are the main qualities you look for in a receptionist? So I actually answered it not too long ago. I think it was a few weeks ago. But there's a few things that we really look for. And the first is, what are some of the intangibles, right? Intangibles meaning things that can't really be taught. Uh, and either in the context of in general for that person as a worker, or in the context of how they exist in a certain position. Because I feel like certain people, employees, are different employees depending on the company or position that they're in, right? Uh, Certain jobs I've had in the past, I don't love any job, but there was certainly uh, certain job that I was a much better performing employee. I was a lot more dedicated. My energy was there. I was more excited. And so, obviously, how you feel about the position impacts how you work within that position, within that role. And, obviously, your performance in the role had an impact as far as whether you're an asset or maybe a liability to the companies you're working for. And so when I say intangible, one of the things I look for is agents that have this intrinsic energy and enthusiasm about wanting to work for your company. And, you can tell whether they're just an excited personality and that's just who they are, which is even better, really, because energy and enthusiasm can sort of fade as someone continues to work the job, or two, whether they believe in the vision. You know, they don't have to believe in the vision of your company as much as you personally do, because I actually think that's a ridiculous thing to ask from your employee. When you start a company, you put your blood, sweat, and tears, and money, and whatever, and you're putting 100% towards a goal. I think it's great to have employees that are invested in that, feel like they're a part of the vision, but for them to care more about it than you do is a problem, right? Um, so, I look for enthusiasm, I look for genuine energy uh, in terms of being excited about the job. Another thing that I look for is simple things, the ability to be charming on the phone. Again, I've said this many times, but when it comes to talking to a potential receptionist, essentially a phone-based position, right? And if anybody could keep chatting, somebody chat something to see if for me to make sure that it's still working. um, um, Matter of fact, I didn't even see what I chatted in here. Let's do a test. Yeah, so my chat, let me see if I can type it in here. Test. Interesting. Um, okay. Anybody who's watching right now, try to chat, and I want to see that if I can see it. Because I sort of don't want to keep ranting and no one's able to. Okay, all right, cool. All right, cool. So I got a couple people that chatted, so cool. Awesome. Okay. Um, so another thing that I look for again is the ability to be charming on the phone. If someone is charming you on the phone, if you're excited to talk to them, if you feel better after interacting with them and talking to them, and you just feel good, right? It's like a nice, flowing, smooth conversation. If that's the case during the interview, there's a much better chance of that being the case when they're engaging with, like callers that they talk to over the course of their employment with your company, right? And so if somebody is, not very charming on the phone, then that has an impact on I mean, if their firm personality is not good and you feel that way, then other people are going to feel that way. And so I look for people that have a good phone personality to chime in on the phone. Those are two things that are like the sort of universal thing. And then the third thing that I look for is um, making sure that they have the right prerequisite for the position, unless I'm going to be providing it. But in my case, we didn't uh, supply like the laptops or internet or anything. So we wanted to make sure that they had the specifications of laptop, which isn't that high, that the internet quality was good enough, and that they were working in a space where they during their working day could have sort of like uninterrupted silence, right? Preferably they have some type of extra room that they can work out of with the door closed. And so that's an important thing. It's not really a personality trait, but it is certainly a great filter in terms of people that are just better set to work the position. Okay. Um, so those are three things. I don't want to spend too long on that. We could talk forever about hiring, but those are the main things I would say I care about. Okay. And again, if anybody got any questions, feel free to let me know. A second question again was, did I have a lot of international clients, and what was it like serving them? So take a quick sip of water. So as an aside, I don't know if it's the building I live in or something, or maybe I'm just all into it in terms of Miami. But it's sort of ridiculous. Our entire time in Miami, my wife and I, we were breathing very well, and my throat wasn't dry. All kinds of like we just sort of felt like we were just sort of living normally. Whereas here, and maybe it's just the cold air or something, but my throat's been completely dry. I've had to like my nose is getting stuffed up again. I'm having to like sort of do a lot. I'm having trouble. So maybe it's the building, which I sort of doubt, but maybe. Um, and maybe it's just being a cold weather environment, but this is no fun, and I'm not enjoying it at all. I'm not enjoying the changing in weather. So, all right, circling back, did I have a lot of international clients, and what was it like serving them? So, we had a decent amount of international clients. I would say if we did a percentage, we're a U.S. based company, and of course we had Canadian clients and U.S. based clients, and that was the majority. So outside of the U.S. and Canada, I would say about 3 to 5% of our clients were international, and so that still adds up to a good amount of clients overall. And so with that in mind. Um, it was a good amount of experience that we got in terms of serving clients internationally. Um, and usually, when we got these types of clients, the reason we would be serving them uh, is because they're headquartered in, say, Ireland or wherever they are, and they have either prospect or existing clients in the U.S. or Canada that they want to be able to engage with a U.S. based person, and so um, that and it was either because sometimes it was the accent thing, but also sometimes they just wanted someone that was working the business hours of U.S. based time zone, and maybe they were in Germany or something, and everyone at the company was working in the German time zone. So it wasn't always about accent. Oftentimes it was about the difference in time zone and wanting to take advantage of a US based company. For instance, I remember explicitly there was a clothing company that used us during the US business hours, but they had their own staff for their own clients in their own countries. So, it's a combination situation so that they could have 24/7 covered without inconveniencing, I guess, in terms of the time zones of the staff. you know. Um, so in terms of our difficulty in terms of serving them, it was really no different, right? Regardless, in these scenarios, because I really can't think of any scenarios out of the whole US-based client or prospect thing. Um, in those situations, we didn't have, any communication issues. We certainly didn't have to, suddenly work in their time zone, or outside of our coverage hours, or else we wouldn't take them on as a client. We didn't have any issues in terms of people being able to pay us or anything. Um, it didn't really feel any different. The only thing that would be different was that it felt cool to be bringing on an international client. So we didn't go after international clients; they did find us. So it is beneficial to try to make sure that you're putting yourself out there as a company as best as you can. Have your content marketing be on point, because it's not just going to be people, in your market that are finding you in the US based market or Canadian or whatever country you're in. It's not going to be people just in your market that are going to find you. If you're spread far and wide enough, then eventually everyone's going to find you. For instance, I have a YouTube channel, obviously, and I'm doing these live videos every week. And it's not just US based and Canadian that are watching me, right? In fact, Darren, man, right now I'm blanking, but I think he's in Belgium. Um, and he's watching. Not actually, he's not. Maybe he's in the UK or something. I can't remember. But he's overseas, and he's watching this at like 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning. And so when you put yourself out there, you put yourself in position not only to attract clients in your own market, but globally. So it's a nice thing. That's the takeaway. Okay, so the third thing, and again, if any of you guys have any questions of your own, I prioritize answering those questions as opposed to the ones I have pre-written. The pre-written questions are simply there so I have things to talk about while you guys are not asking me questions. um, okay, so the third thing is, how did you pick your phone system? So this is actually a big one, which I really don't answer very often. Um, I did sort of do a video on it, but I'm going to add a little bit more context and value here. So uh, the how I picked my phone system was based off of a few things. One, excuse me, they needed to be able to have um, they needed to have the ability to track all the metrics that we needed. Now, I talk about autometrics in the course, but one of the most important ones, which I'll tell you all now, called handle time. Handle time is talk time plus after call word time combined into one metric called handle time. Um, and so we always needed, it was a non-starter if the phone system we were going to use, and I actually didn't realize this at first. The first few phone systems we used did not have the handle time metric. And when we finally found one that did, it was a game changer, and we never went back. But so having all of our metrics taken care of by the phone system we're potentially using is absolutely paramount. Handle time being a big one, because we build our customers based off of the amount of handle time that they use during the billing cycle, right? So the talk time might be like, let's say, 100 minutes of talk time over the course of the month. The after call work might be an additional 30 minutes. And so handle time would be 130 minutes. So if we didn't have handle time as a metric, because everybody tracked talk time, if we just had talk time, we're only able to track that 100 minutes instead of the 130, which means you're missing out on an additional 30% in, up to 30% in potential revenue, depending on the size of the plan that the client is on at the time. So it's, especially important. Another thing that we did was, of course, we looked for whatever factors we could to determine the reliability. A lot of people, when they're first starting off, they think that just using any phone system that seems like it's robust, especially starting off, oh, it'll be fine. It'll, suit our needs. We'll upgrade later. One is it really intensive and difficult to switch your phone system once you have a bunch of clients. If you have over 20, it can be pretty difficult. Believe me on that. Two, if you get it wrong, it's extremely painful. You'll spend so much time managing, trying to have the phone system working that you can't really work on the business. You're doing all kinds of things in terms of, hey, Mike. Well, my name's not Patrick, so there's that. Um, uh, you'll be spending a lot of time just trying to fix problems and basically put out fires as far as the phone system. It's the lifeblood of your business. You don't want to get it wrong. Okay, so maybe he is acting Patrick. Maybe Mike, you're acting Patrick Dip. I'm going to assume you're acting me this. So could you recommend a decent phone for a small time business just starting off? Just starting off, I recommend either Ring Central or 5.9. The other option is potentially EBS 7, but I haven't personally used it. Um, there's a few students that are trying it, and I don't have conclusive results on it yet. I apologize. I don't have conclusive results on it yet, but once I do, then I'll start to talk more about EBS 7, as long as the results and the feedback is good from these students. So 5.9 and 5.9 and I'm gonna type it on here. 5.9 and dial pad. 5.9 and dial pad. Okay. And a lot of people that are starting off are small time businesses, right? When I started out a small time business, I didn't have much money at all to get started. I didn't have 10 grand. I didn't have 5 grand to get started. And so you are able to do it right without going too crazy in terms of spending money. Okay. Um, Doesn't quality ask what exactly were the services you were able to offer with the phone system? So the simplest way to answer that question is we were able to offer pretty much everything. Um, the services that are offered in general when it comes to being a virtual receptionist company is answering the phone, like incoming call, taking messages, transferring the call, booking appointments, or appointment scheduling, appointment booking, however you want to word that. Doing outbound calls, and after, it's called a feature, but it's not too much of a feature. Providing a voicemail box, doing call overflow, and that's not really a feature. It just means that people will have it ring like 2 times. If no one picks up on their end, then it forwards to your phone system. That's something that they do on their end, not you, but it's still something that you can offer, right? These are things that a phone, well, at least a virtual receptionist company offered. The other thing too, I would say, is answering questions and such, but that is more to do with your agents and training and such, and willingness as a company, as opposed to how good your phone system is. And then the final thing is some people do like back end support, meaning say someone, a client wants you to log in to their account to book new clients or something with a username and password that they provide. That had nothing to do again with the phone system you're using. It's more so in terms of your willingness to provide that service as a company. But the point is that any contact center or call center platform, you don't want to use a cell phone. You're not going to use Grasshopper or something that's not sufficient, and don't even try to do it. You got to use a legitimate call center platform. But as long as you're using a platform, then you'll be able to provide the services. The difference is in terms of the effectiveness of the platform in terms of your agents being productive, and then also in terms of the reliability of the phone connection, with those calls coming in consistently. If it's not a reliable phone connection, if there's any glitches, if that stuff's happening, then you can't focus on growing your business. You got to focus on dealing with the fallout of not having your phone calls go well because they're not connecting. Okay. um, okay. So somebody so Mike Harry and Mike Oxoff are saying things that yeah. So they're just sort of they're sort of I think they're sort of, what's the word? Trolling. That's the word. They're sort of trolling. Okay, so hey Kanisha, hope everything's going well with you, Kanisha. Um, cool, cool, cool. All right, what else? Any other questions I can answer? I have Ectorine Central Lines and Filipina callers. I'm assuming you mean Filipina agent signal. I do auto transport now, looking to use these extra line. What's the best way to hopefully land lawyers as appointment setters? Um, well, the best way to land attorney clients as appointment setters is to essentially position yourself. Um, you need to position yourself as a company that is good for attorneys. If you're specifically going after attorneys, you want to make sure that everything you're doing is specific to the messaging that an attorney prospect would be interested in. That's on the sort of content marketing, SEO, and let's say branding side. But also in terms of your outbound outreach, make sure that you're only reaching out to attorneys. You have to be, whether you do cold emailing or cold calling or paid outreach, just make sure that your target audience is attorneys. Uh, and you want to go after solo attorneys because pretty much anyone that isn't a solo attorney already has someone that's going to be booking appointments on their behalf, whether it's a paralegal or more than likely in-house receptionist. And whereas a lot of companies with in-house receptionists will eventually want to potentially use a company like yours, it sort of beating against the wall to try to get someone to fire the receptionist. So we don't want to go after those types of leads. Um, okay, so let's see. Yeah. So Kanisha says the price point. Some companies don't list the pricing on their site. Now, I personally think that's always a bad idea. Um, you know, just about a lot of the larger companies, the largest companies, list pricing. A lot of the older and archaic ones don't, but that's because they're older and archaic. And part of the reason that they have a certain size is because they've been around for so long. But you're going to find plenty of the larger companies like Gabbyville, Vicky, Ruby. They list their pricing. Some try to get your email address first before they tell you the price. I think Lex Reception is either like that right now or they used to be like that. But the reality is that just like me And maybe you, whenever you search for a provider and you see anyone that lists the price, it becomes annoying when other companies in the space are not listing the price. It looks like they're trying to, just get things out of you before they're providing any value. Why would someone hide the pricing? I just think it's ridiculous. So I don't think there's anything wrong. It can only be helpful in my eyes. Every single person like me ever that thinks about using a service like this ever will always be against the people that are not listing the price. So keep that in mind. Okay, Temi Kasha, can you please explain how you figured out the pricing when you started? For me, it was very simple. I just looked at the competitor that I wanted to emulate. At the time, Gabbyville was a company that was really um, similar to the model that I was trying to create. And so I literally copied their pricing. I did the exact same pricing as them. And the way I did it was, I thankfully knew enough at that point to be just in terms of business in general to do some napkin math on where I figured the numbers would be uh, if I were to utilize Gabby's pricing point and then paying agent $10 an hour. And I was like, okay, this looks like it works, so I'm just gonna roll with it. So it didn't take me long, right? I had my pricing in an hour or so. I didn't spend too much time on that. Pricing is something you can always change, so I wouldn't get too worried about having the perfect pricing. Okay. Um, okay. Yeah. Kanisha, I agree. You can lose customers that way, at least potential customers. It is nice to get some email addresses, but there's also other ways to get email addresses. Um, and the reality is that when people are looking into the whole virtual receptionist or different like options in the space, and they're like during the buying process and they're researching their companies, right? They don't have to use you. Your company is rarely the only one that can solve their specific problem, right? And so, how do you differentiate yourself? You differentiate yourself by speaking to them in a way that they can resonate with, right? You're trying to attract them in the sense that you know um, they're just magnetized to your brand. Um, and again, if you're not doing that, then you're not really doing anything. And if you're asking for things before you've given them much value, then there's not much you can do. Ruby, um, in fact, yeah, Ruby, you can see the. I don't. I personally, I'm not an expert on everything when it comes to pricing and why some of these other companies, don't list it. But every single project and every industry, every type of company I've ever run, we've always had the pricing available, always. So hope that was helpful. Any other questions other than the two mics that were trolling? And by the way, I can grow my hair out. This is hair. I can show y'all some old school photos of me with a Fresh Prince flat top going on. I just utilized something called grooming. I groom myself. So, that means cutting things away. When you groom, you always cut things away. Any other questions? I've got about 6 or 7 more minutes. And I wanted to mention, I'm not going to put the link in here, but for those of you that I've talked to or that are very interested in the larger program, um, I am removing the discounted link tomorrow night. So there's a discount on the program right now. It's being removed tomorrow night. So keep that in mind. March 3rd, uh, you know, in the evening, probably at midnight. that link will be removed. So, make sure you take advantage. And also, Tammy, I hope that my answer was helpful to you. Okay, New Clean Collective. Um, Outbound lead generation. Uh, Outsourced. Outbound lead generation outsourced. Can you cover that? I'm not quite sure exactly what you're asking. Are you asking me to talk about a good method to outsource lead generation, or starting that type of company so that you're doing outbound lead generation on behalf of your client? So, outbound lead generation for yourself or your clients? That's what I'm wondering what you're asking about. And depending on which one, I'll answer accordingly. Tammy, um, glad that was helpful. All right, Kanisha. Now, Kanisha is actually one of our students. She joined probably a month ago, and so she's working through the process of launching. She already has her own call center in a different vertical, but I'm really excited to see it. And so she's going to be hopping on a paid student group call, which happened in 15 minutes after this one. So that happens every week as well. Okay, number one for your company. So you probably mean for both, right? So, um, I mean, outbound lead generation is really just as simple. Like for your own company, it's really just as simple as it sounds, right? The only skill, I guess, when it comes to that, uh, because this is my thing. There's a lot of people. You don't have to like. I'm not gonna be the one that needs to tell you all of the ways that you should be doing outbound calls. But the reality is that there's a bunch of ways to do it, and as you get out there and make calls, you will naturally just get better at it. Even if you're terrible right now, you just got to keep doing it, because what happens is that sales isn't about selling. It is about educating your prospect on why what you're offering is a good offer for them. And that's not always going to be the case. If it's not the case, then you shouldn't sell them on it, right? You shouldn't attempt to sell them on it. You shouldn't attempt to convince them on it, because this isn't the type of thing that, if someone's not going to be a good client, they should be using you. It's too involved or too intimate of a relationship. You're taking call for their business. And frankly, it's way better to have, 10 clients that use you for 5 years than it is to have 20 clients that use you for a month. You want to work with clients. Okay. So with that in mind, when you make more calls and you talk about what you're offering, virtual receptionist or, outbound lead generation services, and you keep doing it over and over again, one of the good strategies is to pick a certain type of niche. So say, you're going after attorneys, like someone said earlier. Oh, I think you said earlier. No, someone else said appointment set for attorney. Say you're going after attorney. When you talk to solo attorneys over and over and over again, you, even if you're striking out every time, you're getting feedback. So they're telling you their pain points. They might say, "Oh, I don't need you right now," but you're going to learn their pain point. And so you take that feedback and go into the next interaction with that knowledge. And as you take in more of that feedback and knowledge, your pitch hones in and is sharper and sharper as it more quickly and more accurately and more effectively zeroes in on what the real issue, beyond simply, oh, I need somebody to take my call, that your potential client in that specific industry experiences, right? And so when that happens, okay, if you know that you just need to play the numbers and you get better, the quality of your success also, the other component is the quality of your leads. If you reach out to 100 people where there's no chance, then it doesn't matter how good your pitch is. If you reach out to 100 people where this is absolutely a slam dunk for them, you're going to land a few. If you talk to 100 people, you are going to land a few as long as they know what you're talking about. And so you want to focus on, making sure that your leads are good. I can't talk too much about making sure your leads are good right now, other than to say make sure your leads are good. That means, having certain characteristics. Write down what you think makes sense. Write down the archetype, the prototype, the epitome of a potential client in terms of what they look like. And then try to find businesses or, leads that fit that profile. If you do that, then you're going to have some good target leads. If you find that after a long time they're clearly not good target lead, then adjust the types of leads that you're targeting. But if you target the right type of leads and you play the numbers, your pitch gets better. Most of this stuff is about timing. You'll hit people at the right time, and they're going to say yes today, or they'll say yes in the near future. And even if they don't say yes today or in the near future, you built up a giant pipeline over time. And from that large pipeline, new clients will slowly start to raindrop down into your business, because that's what having a big pipeline does. It's happening with plenty of our students over and over again. That's the strategy. That's what you need to do. Okay, what else? Timmy asked, what's your take on commission-based contract for lead generation sales? I wouldn't do it. I think there are probably scenarios in which it's happening and it's fine. I personally would never do it. And the reason for that is that there's plenty of people. I need to always require, like, if you do that, at least have some type of retainer. Always require our clients to be paying us up front in some way. If they're not paying us up front in some way, then they can screw us over. And you don't want to put yourself in a position that you're screwing yourself over. Now, if they've been a client of yours for a few years and, let's say the business is growing and, they're trustworthy and you have a good relationship, then yeah, you can maybe consider a change in structure, especially if maybe it makes you more money or something. And so in some way it becomes sort of a win-win for both sides. But if that's not the case, there's enough people out there. You don't need to do these ridiculous scenarios where, you're putting yourself at a huge risk just to try to land the client. It's not worth it. Okay. My puppy keeps running by me. I'm good at just looking at automating the dial process and have a better system, or wanting to have a better system in place. Do I recommend any software? Dialpad, actually, I don't know about Dialpad, but Five9, I think both of them have auto dialers and predictive dialing in place. Um, you know, but you're not really supposed to. You got to be careful with it, because if you don't do it right, then you'll be in a situation where it's illegal. Um, but yeah, I mean, there's plenty of any like serious contact system. Um, just look for, if you're going through researching different sites, look for a feature that says uh, a dollar, just an automatic dollar, and then predictive dialing is even better. So if you see that feature, then it has what you're looking for. And reliability is absolutely paramount and important, but it's actually not quite as important when you're doing outbound. Inbound is important because your performance for your client is based off of picking up the phone quickly and having the connection be smooth and good. If you're doing outbound, you do that at your own leisure, and outbound calls connect a lot more often for some reason. And if for some reason it doesn't connect, then the agent can just call again. Oftentimes with inbound, if you miss it, you might not have another opportunity even if you try to call them back. So reliability is a lot more paramount when you're doing inbound. Okay. Okay. Yeah, so I don't want to recommend any software in the context because I didn't even run that type of call center. So I've done it in a different context, and there was something we used that honestly can't remember right now, but it wasn't very. It didn't have many features outside of only outbound calls, so I still don't think I would recommend it. Okay, so I hope that was helpful. I can maybe answer one more question since we're here, and then I've got to head over to the other call. But yeah, I hope this was helpful for you guys. This technical stuff is always no fun, but you got to work with it. And for those of you that this is a still natural spring water from Llanfleer, Wales. Yes, the place is called Llanfleer. Llanfleer. Yeah, good old fashioned dialing, good. But again, you can't have it be automated. If you have, man, I can't remember, but you can put the leads in a list, and then have it, dialed pretty quickly. It's just something. Look into this later. I'm blanking on this right now, but there's a way to do it that is illegal. I think maybe the number spoofing thing. Um, I can't remember. I honestly can't. But a lot of your clients will, say, "Hey, I've got this list of 8,000 leads. Can you call them for me?" And you can do it. And it will be like the the person that falls in that scenario. Let's say the leads are like you're not supposed to call them. The person at fault will be your client, not you, because they're the ones that are, doing the marketing, so to speak. You're just the vessel. Okay. Any other quick questions at all? So yeah, again, I appreciate you guys being here. You guys are the best. It's exciting being over 1,000 subscribers. I really love that. Can nobody take that away from me? And I'll see you guys next week. And hopefully the tech works a little bit better. This has happened a few times. Excuse me. This has happened a few times using this browser, which is Firefox. So maybe I'll try some testing on a different browser and see what happens. But other than that, again, thanks for bearing with me, and I'll see you next week.